Poker's legendary champions, next generation stars, and tireless ambassadors of the game, sharing their wisdom and guiding your journey to high achievement on the green felt. This is Chasing Poker Greatness with your host, Brad Wilson.
Welcome back, my friend, to the Chasing Poker Greatness podcast. This is your host, Brad Wilson, the founder of EnhanceYourEdge.com. And today I'm sitting down for a conversation with Twitch superstar and mid-stakes tournament grinder, Matt Staples. Spending nearly all of his time playing in online tournaments, Matt is currently a member of Team PartyPoker. By his own estimation, about 99.9% of his tournament poker career has been streamed live online as he's played. Matt generally plays mid-stakes, but has been known to test his skills in tournaments with buy-ins as high as $500 and $1,000. This past May, he took down the biggest cash of his career when he finished third in the PokerStars Sunday Million for $92,812.18. Approximately. Matt's a rare breed of player who started out online with a minuscule bankroll and reached his current lofty status by simply grinding, learning, winning, and growing without adding any outside money. After getting his start a few years ago with about $20, his bankroll today is estimated to be around $160,000. At the fresh young age of 24, Matt's a perfect example of what it means to dive in, work hard, and chase poker greatness. He's living proof that if you want to start making a living through playing this card game, even in today's day and age, it's still possible. During the course of our conversation, he's going to talk about how he got started in the game, where he began to make the transition to a professional player, and what changed the way he thinks about the game, allowing him to go farther than he ever thought he would. You'll hear what he likes the most, what he'd change if he could, and the key advice he'd give to any new player. So once again, thank you for joining me on Chasing Poker Greatness. Here is my conversation with stream and lamp lover extraordinaire, Matt Staples. Matt, welcome to the show. How you doing, sir?
Good. I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. To start things off, let's start at the beginning. I think that's a good place to start things. Let's start out with a story of how you got into playing cards in the first place.
Right. Yeah. So my brother was a full-time professional player already. So he was already a full-time poker player, and he started streaming on Twitch as like kind of a side job. And he started off that. And I had no interest in poker at this time. I thought it was cool that he was streaming on Twitch. So I started watching him and then realized that poker was also pretty interesting. And I started to learn some things about how the game worked or whatever. And then, eventually I said, like, this could be fun to try. So I got into it for fun, just started playing, super micros, like as low as you can find on any site. I was playing like 2-cent sit and goes and 10-cent sit and goes, like at the very beginning. And then I don't know, I had some success and just kept moving up in stakes, and then I've been playing ever since. But yeah, it was really my brother that got me into the game.
Where was the first place you went to learn, to dive in as far as expanding your knowledge?
It was Twitch. Yeah. Just watching my brother play and seeing, what kind of hands he would open from where, and, what his strategies were. And, that's where I learned like what a C-bet was and stuff like that. So all my super beginner knowledge came from just Twitch, watching him play.
Any other streamers besides your brother?
I used to watch Jason Somerville. I mean, at that time, like way back when, it was really only those two that were streaming. Just Jamie and Jason. Like there was not even close to as many streamers back then. So it was really those two, and Jason was obviously super fun to watch. He was the biggest by far at that point. So
yeah, I used to stream myself a few years ago, and I would get like 50, sometimes a little over 100 people to my cash games. Yeah. And then coming back after like 2 or 3 years away, the market is very different than it was.
Oh yeah. It's evolved like crazy. Yeah. There's so many more streamers. Everyone's like way better at the game. Stakes are higher. There's way more streamers. It's super competitive. It's really growing a lot. Yeah.
So basically your brother is Jamie Staples, by the way.
Yeah.
For those of you that didn't make the Matthew Staples connection.
Right. Yeah. I
So
guess I should have got into that. Yeah.
no, it's fine. But yeah, he picked a good time to start for sure. And Somerville picked a great time to start as well. Basically,
Yeah.
they had the whole market to themselves.
Yeah.
When you were moving up playing 2-cent sit and goes, I mean, you did add some money to your bankroll, right? Like to switch stakes. You literally
Zero
money.
Zero money. I got like a $20 transfer from Jamie, and I played like the Sunday Storm, I think, like 3 months before I actually started grinding. So I had like $8 left over, and then
What year was this?
2015.
Wow.
2015, yeah. 2015. And then yeah, because I didn't get into it for money. I wasn't trying to like play bigger stakes. I just thought it was fun to play cards, so I didn't really care what I was playing. So $8 was fine. And I like the idea of like following bankroll management because he had talked so much about it. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna follow bankroll management. I'm gonna run it up, and that's what I did.
And you got the brand name of the Somerville in there too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Gonna run it up.
Yeah, true.
That's awesome. And I think that's a great testimony for folks out there who are starting today that, yes, it can be done in today's day and age. You can run it up. You can grind it up from very small if you put in the effort. And speaking of the effort, so like obviously it was a lot of effort to run it up. It had to be. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Did you have any breakthroughs early on? And if so, what were they?
Breakthroughs in terms of like
knowledge,
big scores or knowledge?
More like knowledge and growth.
From the micro stakes to the low stakes was all a pretty like slow grind. There wasn't any like huge scores that allowed me to play bigger. There wasn't any like crazy strategies that I learned that really helped out. It was a very slow process of like trial and error and just like continuing to get these small scores. Once I got to the mid stakes, that's kind of where my poker career changed a lot. That's where I went on a huge downswing once I hit the mid stakes. Like I just did not have the skill level or the intuition without studying to beat those games. And I went on a huge downswing, and I knew I had to, make a change or whatever. So I started studying seriously, like training site and using programs and stuff like this. And it allowed me to become a winning player at the mid stakes. And then that's where I started to have some legitimate scores, I remember my first big score was like my first big score was 16,000. That was like a game changer for me. It was like, whoa, I can actually make money playing this game. And like, maybe I'm actually a decent player. Like I just won a high stakes tournament. I'm having decent results like this. I'm going to take this seriously. So that's when I started to take it seriously, is around the mid stakes. And then I've had a much different outlook ever since.
What is mid stakes related to tournaments?
Okay. So mid stakes for me would be, everyone has a slightly different definition, but for me, mid stakes would be around from $22 to like, let's say $82.
Gotcha.
In a buy-in online.
And above that is high stakes?
Yeah, I'd say $109. $109 plus is high stakes for me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And when you say that, you buckled down, you started taking it seriously.
Yeah.
Did you hire a coach? What did that look like?
Well, I signed up to a training site.
Which one?
Razor Edge.
Okay.
Razor Edge is the training site that I used, and I didn't do any private coaching. I do some private coaching now, but I didn't do any private coaching. I went through this course, which covered all the different areas, and it was the outside information I needed. Like my brain couldn't think of these outside strategies. I needed somebody who had figured it out to tell me. So it opened my eyes up to all these new concepts that I wasn't even thinking about while I was playing. And I'm glad I did that because, a lot of these things I would have never thought about if I didn't get somebody to help me out with it,
Yeah, and that reminds me of a quote that I love, that pioneers end up face down in the dirt with arrows in their back. You can always find somebody that's blazed a trail before you, and that just completely expedites the process and makes everything so much easier. Like maybe you could have come up with these concepts on your own, right? You just couldn't have come up with them that fast. It would have taken you years. So what took you years took you a much shorter time.
Yeah.
At this point in your career, what would you think is your biggest poker success?
I think managing to be consistently moving up in stakes. I mean, I've had some big scores. I don't know. I think most people would consider those my biggest successes. Like I've had a few, I had a score for 93,000 a few
Yeah.
months ago.
This ain't about most people. This is you, sir.
Yeah,
What do you consider?
I'd say just the consistency, like not going on too many huge downswings, continuing to follow bankroll management, not spewing it off, and just staying dedicated to it instead of kind of losing my mind along the way. I think, because I think it happens to a lot of people, right? I think a lot of people, blow their bankroll a few times, or they take too many shots, or they go through a lot of mental struggles, which I think is fairly normal. But I think I've managed to remain pretty consistent on the uptick through the stakes. So
yeah, and I'm with you there. Like I think that there are a lot of folks that can bink a tournament for 100K or whatever it is, but consistency rules all. Like if you want to be successful in poker, you have to be consistent.
And I think the fact that I've streamed 99.9% of my sessions, which adds its own challenges, right? Like almost every single hand I've played in my career has been live on Twitch. All the downswings, all the decision making, it's been live. So I'm happy I've been able to stream the entire process as well without struggling too much. So
any infamous points in your stream where you just couldn't handle it because of annoyance?
I mean, it happens all the time. I have, like the swings, like stream to stream. There's so many streams where, I don't lose my mind in terms of like tilting and like, okay, I'm going to rage quit. But generally, like if I'm having a bad session, I might like 3 hours in, instead of regging for like 6 hours, I might just be like, all right, guys, I'm going to shut it down. Like I'm going to finish these tables off stream and just call it a day. And that happens pretty often because, it is very stressful. And sometimes the day can become just bad. So.
Yeah, and with people watching your meltdown happen in real time is another extra element of pressure. But maybe it's a good thing, right? Because maybe it forces you to kind of hold it together. Whereas if you weren't on stream, you could kind of go nuts.
For sure, there's a ton of accountability when it comes to streaming. I mean, you can't spew hands. You got to make sure you're playing your best, or else people will definitely call you out. You can't tilt too hard or else people will leave. There's a lot of accountability for sure.
And this stream of yours did you have any idea that you would get traction when you first started out? Like, was that a goal in the back of your mind or just something that kind of organically happened?
I never planned to go full-time, be a full-time streamer or a poker pro or anything like that. But I did, I started streaming because I thought that people would watch and I might be able to grow to a point where it could be a decent amount of fun. So yeah, it was in the back of my head, but I didn't have like a blueprint of, okay, stream, grow the stream, get attention from poker sites, get sponsored. I had no blueprint like that.
It just sort of happened.
Got into it for fun.
I can see your little patch there, Party Poker team online. Yep. How did that happen? How did that come about?
Party Poker just approached me after I had been streaming for a long time. I had been unsigned for a few years when I was getting really good numbers on Twitch. So a few sites had reached out, but they were, I don't know, there was like a long process and nothing was super solid. But then Party Poker came out and they're like, listen, we're creating this team. We're looking to expand on Twitch and get our own team going. Like, do you want to be a part of this? So they were really good about reaching out to me, and I was pretty pumped up to join. So
nice. I think how beneficial was it to you to have your brother as one of the bigger streamers? Like, was he hosting you? Did he help jumpstart things?
Yeah, huge. It was a huge part of the growth. I mean, my first streams ever, I developed a name for myself through his channel already. Like I was in there every day and people knew me and I was typing, and obviously I had the family name recognition and stuff like that. So when I started, it was a lot easier for me than a lot of other people if they're starting out right now, because, people knew who I was already. It's like being a professional poker player almost and coming onto the site. It's like Phil Gelfond started streaming a few weeks ago and he's already getting like 1,000 viewers or more because of, people know who he is. So yeah, it was pretty huge in the beginning. And obviously he was supporting my channel, always dropping a host here, telling people to check me out. And really important.
the stuff that the big brother does. That's,
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is though, it sounds like you did have a natural interest. I mean, to watch all the streams, to be in there, recognizable,
Yeah.
commenting all the time, like it feels like you loved it.
Yeah. I've been a huge fan of Twitch since like way back before Jamie was streaming or anything like that. I was a huge gamer before I got into poker. I play all the popular games. I used to watch Twitch streams and esports and all that. So I was a huge fan of Twitch, and I had actually tried to stream way back in the day. Tried to stream video games, just got no viewers and didn't really take it seriously. So I'd always had an interest in Twitch.
Yeah. What does your current stream schedule look like? Like how many hours are you streaming a week now?
I'm 5 days a week, and I'd say average stream is about 6 hours. Usually a few shorter streams, and then a few streams like closer to 11 hours, 10 hours a week. But it always varies. It really depends on how my tournament sessions go. I might have a week where I'm streaming, 11 hours, 5 hours, 5 hours. It's just all over the place. But yeah, I try to do 5 days.
Yeah, the life of tournament poker players.
Like who knows? On a Sunday, it's just turned into madness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why I've always preferred cash games personally, because I can just quit whenever I want.
So much freedom.
Yeah.
I wonder what it's like. I've almost never played cash games. So.
It's nice. I mean,
I'd rather remain ignorant to the fact that I can't take breaks when I want.
Yeah, like it's a blessing and a curse though, right? Because with the flexibility, you also have to have some sense of accountability to yourself.
Very true.
You have to put the hours in, you have to put the volume in. And if you're in a poker tournament, you're like locked in. Like you don't have a choice at that point. I mean, you could punt, but if you're punting, 1 day a week, it's probably not going to work out too well.
No.
But it's a different experience. I personally love it because of the freedom. And if I were 21 years old, or when I was 21 years old playing cards, and by the way, speaking of bankroll management, like I hit a tournament as actually party poker. It's been a long time since I've played or seen on party poker in the States, but I hit one for $15K. I had $750 in my account, and I just bought straight into a 200.
That's amazing.
They had the 200 nightly, like every night. It was like $50K guaranteed, 200, I think 200 plus 15, like at 7 days a week.
Wow. You just fired.
Yeah, screw it.
Yeah.
What's the worst that happens? I bust my 750, and then I was playing live at the same time too, so I just have to reload. But these binks early on in the career, I've talked to a lot of poker players, and that's a commonality between a lot of folks. Making money and then kind of figuring things out after making a bunch of money.
Yeah, that's a big one. They have the huge score and they don't really know how to handle the huge scores, so they go too high right away, or they don't know how to manage the bankroll. It's pretty standard.
Yeah, my whole philosophy on bankroll management's always, I believe it came from Mike Caro. And again, I'm dating myself in the poker world, I think. But it was Mike Caro, and he was saying that, like, basically, if you have a small bankroll, if you have $1,000, you can take more risks because you can make that money back. It's when your bankroll gets bigger that you really need to practice great bankroll management and protect yourself.
Right. And do you think that's just because more money is more relevant to real life situations?
So here, my thoughts on it, like I've always hated the micros. And I've never understood the micros. I've never understood playing poker at a stake that's less than you could just go out and get a job at McDonald's and make the money, like to build a bankroll. So I think that's sort of where it is. Like if you could get a job and save up $1,000 in, a few months or whatever, then it's not that big of a risk to lose that $1,000, right? To take some shots. But if you got $50K, that's a different story. It's going to take you a lot longer to rebuild at $50K.
Yeah, that's very true.
So what's something you feel that folks who are chasing their poker dreams, that they don't spend enough time thinking about?
I think the big one is study for most people. I think, it's kind of hard, right? Because a lot of people play part-time, and when they work all day and they only get to play poker at nights, or they only get to play a few times a week, it's really hard to justify spending their time studying or going out and get training when they only get to play a little bit, right? Like they don't want to. That's fair. I play poker full time, and I don't want to study that much. So I can't imagine if I only got to play a few times a week. But the thing is, like, if you're ever going to take it seriously, you're going to have to dedicate some time to getting better, and finding the time, and in like putting in the time is just so key for most people. And I think the study ratios are just not there for most players. I think they should up their study ratios by a lot. And
by study, can we get a little more granular and tell me exactly? Sure.
So, I mean, even free content. Like when we look at what the free content is, there's podcasts, there's YouTube channels. Pretty much every popular streamer has a YouTube channel putting out highlight videos or training material. There's training sites. There's multiple training sites out there, of course, and they all put out free content as well on their YouTube channels now. They're all pumping out content, right? The amount of study material you can find just on YouTube right now is quite amazing. There's Discord channels where you can join a group of poker players, post hands, get feedback from pro players, and there's tons of those channels out there as well. So, whether it's discussing hands or watching training material, or maybe spending a little bit of money on a tool where you can download some hands from online and run those hands. It's all very useful.
What tools specifically?
ICMizer is one of my favorite ones. That's a spot where you can review final table spots, which is always really important because that's where all the money is on final tables. If you play tournaments, that is. I use Power Equilab, which is great for seeing what kind of equity you have in different situations, like hand versus range or hand versus hand. That's super, super important to understand, how much equity you have with different holdings against different ranges. Just playing around with that tool can be super useful. And then if you want to get more serious, PO solvers is a big one that I think a lot of serious poker players use. A lot of this stuff applies to tournaments. As I'm a tournament professional. I've never really delved into cash games, but yeah, those are the big tools that I've used in my career, at least.
Awesome.
Yeah. What do you think about the solvers, the tools, the training sites?
So when I was coming up, the training site was Card Runners. That was it. That was pretty much all that was offered. And it was amazing. It was kind of mind-blowing to me in a lot of ways. I've been very blessed in my poker career. I started out playing with a guy that was on his path to thinking about the game at a high level and was obsessed like me. We both had an obsession. I mean, down in Florida, we would play on a cruise to nowhere for 4 hours. There would be like a 4-hour break between cruises, and we would just go to like the Wendy's parking lot, order some food, and talk about poker for 4 hours straight. Then we'd play the second session, and like as we're leaving the boat, we're talking about poker all the way the drive home, and that was just every day. So having him in my life was very, very important as far as expediting my growth. Like iron sharpens iron, and me being in his life was very beneficial as well. I don't think that I would have made the gains that I made early on without him. As far as PIO goes, I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant with PIO for a number of reasons. GTO can be a dangerous game, especially if you're node locking and making some assumptions that may be incorrect.
Sure.
It's one of those things where like you don't want to get bad feedback and then implement that into your game because it can be more harmful than even having no feedback.
Sure.
I spoke with Matt Berkey, had a show with Matt Berkey, I think it was about a week ago, and he was talking about just using logic, right? Like a lot of poker is logic. And for most every situation, the exploitative strategy is going to be the best strategy. So then there's also this concept of like, if you want to play GTO, it's typically not going to be the highest earning strategy that you can implement at any given time, because everybody has weaknesses. Human beings are not very random. So PIO is good to get some baseline strategies, but just I hesitate to tell people to treat it like the gospel, right? Like,
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that makes sense. Yeah. Just go a little bit on your point about like your friends that friend that you had that you talked about poker, you're obsessed with poker with. Like that's kind of, I think when it comes to Twitch communities, I think there's a lot of Twitch communities that end up being like that. Like people, end up being friends when they watch the stream together. They add each other on Discord. They'll end up talking about hands, posting hands. And I think that's like a more of a modern age story, especially for online players. Like that's what's kind of cool about these Twitch streams is that, there's a lot of people that end up talking a lot about poker through these Twitch streams, which is nice. So that's another way to do it. Make some friends through the Twitch community and add them and talk a lot of poker.
And that was not really available to me back in the day. I just got super fortunate as a 19-year-old kid. And a few things that I want to go back to. We mentioned the tools and people not having a ton of time to just kind of sit down and watch like a YouTube video or a stream. And I'm not plugging podcasts or my podcast specifically, but basically podcasts are awesome as a secondary activity. You can listen, you can be on the treadmill, you can listen to them while you're driving. If you have a commute, you have the opportunity to listen to podcasts and learn about poker while you're doing something else. So it isn't necessarily, you don't have to make the time in your day. You know what I mean?
That makes
kind of
sense.
separate. And another point too, you said you were a prominent chatter, watcher of your brother's stream and people recognized you. But I don't think that's really, I think that's still a good strategy today. Like, especially if you want to start a poker stream, like most people that watch don't really engage or talk. And you can stand out by just asking questions and being engaging. And the streamers, at least in my experience as a streamer, I love people talking because it gives me something to do. Like other than
it makes a huge difference if people are talking in there.
Right.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
So, if you have designs on being a streamer yourself, and immersing yourself in community, I think it's just a good strategy.
Big time. I think people like super underestimate how much attention you can garner on yourself or how big of an impact you can make in a community just by like being in there, just like saying hi, saying what's up, spamming emotes and dropping a dono here or there. It's just like after a while, everyone knows who you are. And if they see you in the listing or they know you're going to be streaming, it's huge, especially on social media too, like tweeting to everyone, engaging with everyone. You see a lot of people doing that these days, maybe even overboard, but it works, like for sure.
Yeah, it's I think a prerequisite right now, is especially to grow real fast as a poker player, is you can't be shy. You have to put yourself out there and try to get some visibility.
Yep.
And I've said it many, many times too. Another way, people are always wondering, like, how do I get close to so-and-so, like so-and-so poker player? How do I develop a relationship? How do I get involved? And it's always money. Give them money, buy their course, buy their thing. And then you naturally get closer because then you're invested in them and then they feel they're invested in you as well.
Sure.
What would you say is the most high impact action you've taken to improve your game?
It's a training site. Raise Your Edge would be the biggest one for me. That was like, I just went from base intuition thinking ABC poker to like, okay, now you have high level strategy when it comes to pre-flop, when it comes to post-flop, when it comes to jamming. It was just like so many new concepts that, my game has been like completely different ever since. So making that initial investment in a training site was what helped me get to high stakes.
And how much, two questions, how much was that investment? And also, do you feel like it was a prerequisite for you trying to make the jump up to the mid stakes, for investing in that specific training?
The course, it was the expert masterclass. So it was around $1,000 for that course, that tournament course. And I'm sorry, I don't understand the second part of the question.
Basically, like, if just a complete noob is like, would it be as valuable to them as it was to you?
Well, I think, there's for that course specifically, it was the expert course, right? So you need some of the knowledge. You need to know all the poker terms. You need to know things what equities are. You need to know generally what ranges are. So there's like an apprentice course that I could have gone into as well, but I decided to go straight to the masterclass. So
I guess you haven't taken it, the apprentice course. Right?
I have not taken the apprentice course. No.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that is completely necessary for people to beat the mid stakes, but it was super impactful and it definitely sped up the process for me.
Let's put a number on it. How much money do you think that's made you? That $1,000 investment?
Just all the money. just all the money, just everything since, I don't know.
So hundreds of
idea.
thousands is hundreds of thousands of times the investment.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say that's a pretty good investment then.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's when you're buying training content, assuming you will put in the work that the content offers, it's really tough to find a losing investment when it comes to training material. Like, unless it's for some reason something you've already heard or something you've already done. It's just like you're spending some money to make better decisions in game. It's, if you are going to put in the work, then it's almost always going to be a profitable investment. That's always look at training sites when it comes to poker.
Tell me about your daily process. Let's talk about, what do you do because streaming 30 plus hours a week is tough. At least it's tough. It would be super tough on me, like just physically, mentally, very draining. So what do you do to take care of yourself to prepare for the stream?
Well, I live generally a pretty balanced life, and I think that obviously helps. Sometimes I go a little bananas and I'll stream like back-to-back 12-hour days and stuff just because, I ride off the hype a lot. Twitch is very hype times sometimes. So, but like on a normal week, I wake up, I have a nice breakfast, give myself time to eat and make a coffee, and then I'll start generally pretty early in the morning, stream my day. And then after the stream, I'll take a few hours off just to cool down, right? Take some time away from the computer. And then I hit the gym 5-6 times a week. So usually I'm going to the gym, and then, I'm just doing some study, 30 minutes of study a day ish. I just do a little bit of everything, a little bit of socializing, a little bit of study, go to the gym, take some time off.
What does the gym look like? What do you do there?
I do weight training. So I do like a weightlifting split. That's what I've been doing for the last few years.
Nice. Do you create a schedule that you stick to?
Yeah. I have a trainer, and he gave me a fitness plan. So I have each day of the week is a specific training program. His name's Mike Vacanti. He helped us with the bets that we had.
Oh yeah.
Bets.
Yeah. Let's talk about that prop bet, because I did read about it briefly.
Sure. Okay. So a few years ago, I was 134 pounds and my brother Jamie was 305 pounds.
Wait. 134 and 305.
134 and 305.
Okay.
I don't know what the difference is there. That's a lot. I think it's like 170 pounds. Yeah, 171 pounds. And we had gone down to the Virgin Islands to meet Bill Perkins, because we were doing a stream boat thing where we streamed for a week down in the Virgin Islands on a boat, on Bill Perkins' boat.
He paid for y'all to come down there?
Yeah. Well, we got to stay at his place and everything.
Nice.
So yeah, we were down there for that, and we were doing an IRL live stream, and somebody in the chat just wrote some random comment, was like, because I think they were talking about prop bets and stuff, and somebody wrote in the chat, was like, how much for them to be the same weight in 1 year? And then Bill Perkins said something like, oh, I'd give them 50 to 1 on that. Right. And then, I was just out of it. I wasn't even thinking about anything. But Jamie was like, 50 to 1, how much can we bet? Jamie instantly was like, 50 to 1.
Yeah.
How much can we put down? Like, I'll put down the max, whatever I can.
Yeah.
And Bill Perkins was like, you can put down 3K. So then Jamie's just like, book it. Matt, we have to do this.
Yeah.
And I was just like I didn't even know what was going on. I was just like, what are you talking about? He's just like, Matt, shake my hand. We got to take this bet right now. I was like, okay, sure. And then, over the next week or whatever, I kind of figured out what was happening. So yeah, we put down $3,000 to win $150,000.
Half and half?
Half and half, yep. Right down the middle. So then we spent the entire next year. I was gaining weight the entire year. My brother was losing weight the entire year. Just weight training full time, eating everything in sight, everything I could. I was eating 3K calories plus a day for an entire year.
And how tall
easily.
are you?
I'm 5'7".
5'7".
Yeah.
Whew, that's an uphill battle. That's not fun.
I'm short. Yeah. So we had to be the exact same weight within 1 pound. We had 1 pound of leeway on the exact date within one weigh-in. So there was like no leeway at all. It had to be a specific date, 1 year.
So if you got there early, you had to maintain.
We had to maintain. Yeah. So we managed to get it down to an exact science. On the day, we managed to weigh the exact same 188.8 on the nose to a T. So we managed to do it, but yeah, Jamie lost 117 pounds or something. I gained 53 or 54 pounds in a year.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Like 5'7", I mean 5'7", 188. Like, so I've been small my whole life. Like I'm 5'10", and I recently gained about 17 pounds, just through like consuming a ton of calorie until I want to spew every day. Yeah. And then weight training, and like 50 pounds is just unbelievable to me.
It was sick. I mean, in the beginning, I had a lot of room to put weight on. You know, I had a lot of beginner gains in terms of like muscle gain in the gym that came pretty easily. And I was not tired of eating yet in the first like half of the bet, but the second half of the bet was horrible. It's horrible. I didn't want to eat ever. I would eat till I almost, you know, felt like throwing up all the time. I remember the last week, I could barely eat, actually. I couldn't go a meal without almost throwing up near the end. Like I had no appetite. I would sleep for 11 hours. I'd wake up for breakfast and I wouldn't be hungry at all. Like I could almost not eat at that point. My body was so messed up from that bet.
Yeah. But, not a very fun time. I mean, did you look in the mirror and just think, what the fuck did I do to myself?
No, but now I look back and I say, holy shit. Like I was really unhealthy at the end of the bet. But like when you're in it, like you get so used to seeing yourself look a certain way, and like everyone else gets so used to it that I didn't really think about it. But looking back now, like what I look like now compared to then is pretty insane.
Yeah. What were you eating? Like, I mean, you said you were super unhealthy. Were you just like, did the calories even matter as far as the nutrition?
I did have certain macros that I was trying to hit. I don't remember them now, but I mean, it was obviously very high protein numbers and high protein, high carb. The fat numbers, we tried to still keep like reasonably low, but they were never low. But yeah, high protein, high carb. I would just eat as much meat and rice or meat and pasta. And, you know, I'd never say no to any kind of meal. So if there was pizza, I'd try to eat the whole pizza, basically. The word no was not in my vocabulary for food that year. Was it worth the
75K?
Yeah. I mean, for what my net worth was and my bankroll at that time, it was life-changing for sure. I would do it again. It was a huge deal. So
what about your brother?
What about
how is his see, it feels like losing weight would be easier, but that's just my perspective as a small human.
Yeah, a lot of people have taken both sides on which side would be easier. I think it was harder for him because I think, you know, he had two-sided battle, right? He had a mental battle, but then also a physical battle, right? He had a food addiction. He had all these habits that he'd formed over 24 years of eating poorly. So he had to turn that on a dime mentally and battle that whole year. Whereas for me, it wasn't a mental battle to start eating and weight training. That was fine. I was okay with that. So I really do think the process for him was much tougher. And, you know, he talks a lot about these days, like still feeling some mental effects from how insane that bet was for him. So yeah, I think he had a hard time with it, but, you know, he got it done. So
did it stick? I'm sure you lost your weight, a lot of it probably fairly quickly, right?
Yeah, I spent the entire year after losing weight and dieting.
So, yeah, that's a new experience, especially for a dude.
I lost all of it. I lost every pound I gained. Yeah. Just kept the muscle, or most of it at least. So
nice.
It's worth. Yeah.
I'm sure dieting is like it's a foreign concept to me, especially like being small my whole life, right? Because I've never like had to do it.
Right.
But in that case, like I could imagine like just a relief to not be stuffing my face full of shit all the time.
For the last week before the first bet ended, I was just like, I cannot wait to eat salad and just not stuff my face. Like I cannot wait. This is gonna be so amazing. I'm gonna eat vegetables, whatever. The day after I'd given myself a break, the day after, I wanted a cheeseburger. Like I really wanted to eat bad. Like I had developed that habit. And I was so disappointed in myself. I'm like, man, you just ate like shit for 365 days. And not even 12 hours later, you still want fries and you still want burgers. I was like, man, this sucks. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, your body was like, hey man, what are you doing? Like
I thought I would never want junk food again. I really thought I would be done with it, but it's not the case.
What is up, you future star of poker, you? Coach Brad here, and I just wanted to take a moment to let you know about PKC Poker. If you're sitting there wondering to yourself, why? Why is Coach Brad promoting this PKC Poker app thing? Allow me a moment to explain my why. Battling in cash games has been my livelihood for the past 15 years. It's how I survive and put food on the table for my family, which makes it imperative that I either test out or seek qualified opinions on all of the poker platforms on the market. One juicy find can mean the difference between a meh year and an amazing family vacation in Hawaii kind of year. With that said, I have tried almost all of the major poker apps on the market to date, and despite the hype about amazingly juicy games, have come away from the experience unsatisfied. I was just never able to find success against seemingly weak competition, and in one specific case was getting outright destroyed by passive villains playing more than 50% of their hands. What on earth was going on, right? After many evenings sitting in the bathtub, wondering if I had lost it, I finally dug into the data and learned something that shouldn't have been too surprising to you. These dudes were colluding and super using their pants off. So I swore off those free money, decentralized devil apps and decided to go back to my more familiar streets of ignition. It was then that I was contacted by a good friend of mine who turned out to be the vice president of worldwide operations at PKC. Him and I had a long, in-depth conversation about security, the ecosystem, and the future direction of PKC, and he managed to convince me to give it a shot. That shot turned into an incredible 6 months with an hourly rate that's about 5 times what it would have been playing on any other US platform. As it turns out, I didn't forget how to play. I just needed to be on a level playing field to return to my crushing ways. I have no doubt that you, my community, my audience is going to play online poker somewhere, and I want to be damn sure that you don't go through the pain and frustration I felt by messing around with any poker app besides PKC. This is why promoting PKC is a no-brainer for me. I love you, I love my community, and I want to put you in the best position to succeed at this game that we both love so much. So if you'd like to join me in the streets of PKC, simply head to enhanceyouredge.com/PKCpod and get your invite code to play. You must have an invite code to play, and you must be 21 years of age or older. One more time, that's enhanceyouredge.com/PKCpod to get your invite code. Best of luck, and now, on with the show. Going back to that kid that's grinding the micros, just starting out, doing his stream to, not many people. If you could give that kid some wisdom, and I guess it's only been about 4 years ago, what wisdom would you give him?
I would tell him to start studying earlier. And I would tell him to keep his head down. Keep his head down and grind. There was a few times throughout my grind, let's just call it, that I was just like, man, am I going to do this full time? Like, is this fun? Am I enjoying this? Is this worth it? So there was a few periods of that. And
did you almost quit?
I didn't almost quit, but I had hit a point where I'm like, am I going to do this? Like, is this going to work for me? Right. I had like kind of doubts. Let's just put it that way. I had doubts. So I'm really glad now that I stuck out with it. Right. It's huge that I stuck with it. So I would give myself the advice to just keep your head down and keep grinding. Because
how'd you get through those doubts while you were having them? Just loved the game. Just wanted to play.
Yeah. Twitch is just so much fun. It's just really all I had going on in my life, right? Twitch and poker. That's what I had done. That's what I like doing. That's where my self-worth was. That was just my whole life. So I didn't want to quit.
Yeah. That's a good motivator. I mean, that's a good emotional goal to keep you going, moving in the right direction. If you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about poker tournaments, what would it be?
Change poker tournaments. God, I'd make them shorter. Make them shorter. They're so long. It's such a sick grind tournaments. I'd make.
How would you make them shorter?
I don't know. See, I mean, it's so dumb. I just want them to not last as long. They're such a grind. Just eliminate late reg. Just make everyone show up on time. Everyone has to be there right on time. All 1,000 people.
You're okay with smaller prize pools as long as they are ending earlier?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine with me.
I mean, so for the online world, I think that, maybe it's tough. Like for me, for instance, one major reason I talked about the freedom and the flexibility, but stalling in online tournaments is something that
Mm.
just wants to make me put my fist through a wall.
You being
Um,
close to the bubble?
yeah,
Yeah.
I want to just punt everyone who starts stalling.
Yeah.
Especially from like a cash game background. I'm like, let's get in hands, guys. Let's play. Let's get in hands. What are
Yeah.
we doing? In a
Yeah.
live setting, oh my God. Like, because you can see them and right? Like, that a 3-minute tank in an inconsequential spot, like, what's happening. It drives me crazy. I mean, this is
Yeah.
why.
Tanking. That's the big story. That's the big story. Tanking in tournaments. Like how people hate watching it. It's all over Twitter. People hate tanking, which is I mean, it's fair.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there should be a way to structure it to disincentivize tanking. Because, I mean, as it is, like, it is incentivized near the bubble for people to eke their way into the money. So if you could find a
Yeah.
way to disincentivize it, that'd be great for me. That would make tournaments way more playable and enjoyable,
Yeah.
and probably make them a little shorter too.
Yeah. I mean, you really do need something though, because the incentive is too good. It's just too good. I mean, you're playing poker tournaments to make money. If you can just sit there and wait and sit on your time bank for a little bit to make money, you should, right?
Right. I mean,
I don't do it, but you should.
yeah, I don't know. Personally, like, I don't do it, and I wouldn't do it just because I hate it so much.
Right.
It's like, I don't know. It's like manipulating the system.
What if you needed the cash for rent? Like, what if it's super crucial that you're making money?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, then I guess I would tank.
There you
If
go.
I need it for rent, if I need it to pay for my family, then I guess that's what I would do.
Yeah. Extreme example, but I
It's
don't know.
true. There's a lot of guys apparently out there that need to make the money for their rent in every poker tournament that goes on with all the tanking.
Yeah.
What's your current big goal related to poker? What's next?
Big goal is the same as it's always been. I want to be number one on Twitch poker. Number one on Twitch poker.
What does number
I
one mean?
Number one. That means I have the most viewers, even if everyone's online. I want to be what Lex Veldhouse is right now. Leading in viewers on a Sunday. Anytime I go online, I'm at the top of the listing essentially. So there's times right now where I will be the top of the listing depending on who's on. But no matter who's on, I want to be the biggest community, biggest stream on Twitch. So that's what the goal has always been when it comes to my career. Poker wise, I would like to reach as big a stakes I can online. I'm up to a point now where I can play 1Ks and below. I fire a few 1Ks a week and a lot of 500s during the week. So I'm really happy with the fact that I'm playing that high stakes. And I mean, I guess the next step now is just to try to increase my win rate at those stakes and maybe even be able to bump it up a little bit more during series. Play a 2K, play a 5K, just be able to put on that show for Twitch. But there's an insane amount of work that comes with trying to even go up those levels,
Oh, I'm sure your competition level goes way up with each rung on the ladder.
It is super debatable whether I'm winning at the 500s and 1Ks anyway. So that's where I need to be at the moment.
So by super debatable, you mean maybe you've had good results, but you're unsure overall? Like,
correct. Yeah, correct. I mean, it's just my assumption. I just know the fields in 500 and 1K tournaments are filled with regulars that are putting in a lot of work. And I know I'm streaming and I'm not putting in an insane amount of work on my game. So I'm just making the assumption that my edge is not going to be huge, if there is any.
Well, so I spoke with Jungle Man a few episodes ago, I guess we'll call it. And we were talking about progression and growth as a poker player, and how when he started, he did like a counterintuitive approach to growth. And he basically did like reverse game selection, where he just played the badasses at every stake, heads up. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. So, which basically, and then we talked about it. And, when you push yourself and you find your limit, that's a lot of motivation to become better at cards. So I would say that even if you're not a favorite at the 500 or 1,000 tournaments, number one, you're probably not giving away that much of an edge.
Right.
You're not that big of a dog. And number two, this is motivation to improve your game, to realize your full potential, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. And I mean, I'm not playing poker. I'm a poker streamer, right? So, I'm a sponsored player. I have revenue coming from a bunch of different places. When I play poker tournaments, I'm not, I'm trying to make money, but I'm not, sweating my ROI super hard and stuff like that. I want to put on a good show and I want to see how high I can get, essentially. So I don't mind playing these fields, if people like to watch it on Twitch, and I like to test myself. So I'm definitely down to play the high stakes, and I'm hopefully going to find some more success there.
And speaking of these other revenue streams, how important do you think they are as far as your career?
They're huge in terms of just security. It means that I don't have to think about poker in a sense of needing to make a certain amount of money, which is a really good peace of mind. Do I think I could support myself from poker alone? I do. So in that sense, they're important just so I don't have to think like that. But I do think I could support myself through poker. Just it would be a little bit tougher, and I'd have to think and be a little bit more careful about things.
And this is another giant difference between cash games and tournaments. Nobody's going to sponsor me playing in a cash game. There's no reason, right? Like poker, in my case, has always been kind of life or death before creating different revenue streams. It's like I have to perform, I have to win to provide for the folks that I need to provide for. And that's a lot of pressure. And I think that can sap a lot of joy from the game if that's always on your mind or in the back of your mind. And I preach on this show specifically from cash game players that I've talked to. It's a big deal to create different revenue streams. And the earlier you can go about doing it, just do it. Like, $1,000 a month, it doesn't sound like a ton, but when you're in the middle of a downswing and you're struggling and you need the help, then it's huge.
Yeah,
like if it doesn't matter to you a month because you're crushing, well then okay, like that's a good place to be in, right? That's a first world poker problem. But yeah, these revenue streams, like if you're playing tournaments, I think there's been a lot of value here in this conversation as far as building a Twitch following and creating those revenue streams.
Yeah.
What else would you do? Like, what are our affiliate links in the panels? What are some other ways that you monetize Twitch?
Yeah, affiliate links is a big one. I mean, without getting signed by a site, affiliates is the next best way to generate revenue, right? Aside from the actual Twitch revenue, which is ads, subscribers, donations, bits, all that stuff generates revenue. But yeah, affiliates. If you have an audience, poker sites want to work with you. They want to get their stuff out there, and specifically with poker, you can get 50 links if you want to. Like there are so many different programs and tools and training sites that'll give you a link just easy, right? So if you have all of them down there and you're streaming a lot, so that was a big one for me, was affiliate links on the come up. I can't really think of anything else. It's just Twitch revenue, affiliate links were the two big ones.
Depending on your skill level and how you're doing and these sort of things, I mean, there's training sites that can sign you. There's other ways to monetize, but I think those are probably the easiest. Just grabbing an affiliate link, sticking in the panels, and going nuts.
If you're good at poker, you can also use your stream to give coaching as well. It's not something I've done, but there's been hundreds of people that have reached out to me and asked for private coaching sessions. So if you generate a stream that has 20 people and somebody wants to pay you $50 a week for some coaching, then there you go. You got a revenue stream for an hour out of your week. So that's something that if you're good at the game can be of use.
And yeah, and again, let's tie this back into what we were talking about earlier. Don't be shy in the poker world. Get yourself out there. It's okay to feel uncomfortable. There's a lot of times that I've felt uncomfortable doing the things that I've done, but when you reach that level of uncomfortability, that means you're finding your limit and you're pushing through. Means that you're growing, right? That's the sign of growth. I want to circle back real quick to your big goal. How are you going to get there? How are you going to be Lex?
That is a good question. I mean, there's I probably shouldn't say this, but there's a part of me that doesn't believe I can get to Lex's level. It's really kind of insane to me how far ahead Lex is.
How far ahead is he?
On a
What's his
Sunday?
average?
On a Sunday, he can get up to 20,000 viewers on a Sunday.
Holy shit! I didn't even know.
I've seen him have 20,000 viewers, and then second place will be like 1,500 viewers, and then there'll be like 600, 600, 500, 400. So that's how far ahead he can be sometimes. And like even if he's got nothing going on, he's got 5,000 viewers, 6,000 viewers, like on a bad day. It's really quite insane how far he's gotten. But I mean, it's motivation, right? It's what a poker stream can achieve on Twitch if it's good enough. So I just think time. I think time is all I need. I don't think I need to do any gimmicks to get there. I think, the older I get, the more I play, the more I generate my brand. People will respect the stream more. People will tune in. I'm going to keep getting better at poker. I'm going to keep moving up in stakes. So, I mean, my stream has grown all the way up until now. I don't see why it will stop growing. So I just think it's a time thing, and maybe some big things will happen in my career that can boost me, whether it's a big score or what. But
yeah, some publicity never hurt anybody. I mean, like you said, Phil Galfond started a few weeks ago, and he's getting like 1,000 folks a stream, right? And he is primarily a cash game player, but he's been around forever. He's a legend of the game, and that's beneficial for getting people to show up, having a big name.
Big time, yeah. Yep.
So basically, you'll have to keep forging ahead and building your name and your brand.
Yep. Absolutely.
What's a project you're working on? It could not be related to poker, or it could be. That's near and dear to your heart that you'd like to talk about.
Project I'm working on. I don't have really any special projects going on. My grind is very one-dimensional at the moment. It's just streaming poker tournaments on Twitch. I'm doing some different content with Party Poker Team Online. We have this team of 9 members that is creating content together, doing some cash game challenges and interacting a little bit. I think 2 of the players are having a big like 1K heads up match or something. So I'm doing a little bit of interaction within the team. Obviously that comes with being a sponsored pro, so that's kind of cool. I'm also trying to branch out into chess streaming. I don't know if you're interested in chess or not, but
I'm not, but that doesn't mean that my audience isn't.
there's a huge crossover for some reason on Twitch. Apparently the chess community and the poker community have like a huge crossover. Like people love watching poker streams that play chess, and poker players always watch the chess streams. So I've been talking to a lot of the streamers, and I'm looking to branch out and collaborate with those guys, which is fun. A few months ago I got addicted to the game. I love it.
Oh wow.
It's
That's
so
awesome.
fun. Yeah.
I would say chess and probably Magic the Gathering. I know there are just so many crossovers between poker and Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Do you have anything in you that you know that you'll want to get out eventually, like a book, any sort of course material, training, anything like that?
I'm just starting to branch out into more content. I'm doing YouTube now. Funnily enough, I'd really like to do a podcast eventually. Have guests and talk. I think that's something I'd really like to do. So I could see myself having a podcast in the next year or 2 years for sure, regularly, which would be really nice.
Don't come after me, Matt.
Come on. This is good. This is good. And I think I want to play a lot more live poker in the future, go to live events. It's not something I've done because I've always wanted to. Like anytime there's a live event going on, I'm like, okay, everyone's going to this. I should be streaming. This is a good time to grow. And I've never found a rationalization for taking time off of Twitch. There's just never time to take off. It's just always time to grow. So, in the next few years, once my channel becomes more stable and I'm happier with where I'm at, I think I'll want to mix in a lot more live events and get to experience that, because I haven't really done the live grind ever. So, being able to meet people from my community in different spots is huge. So
yeah, that's a big deal. And 2, I get the sentiment, by the way, that like, oh, everybody's in playing WSOP, so now's my time to play, right? Yeah. As a cash game player, my whole thing has been WSOP time. I'm in Los Angeles playing high stakes cash games because all the pros and everybody's in Vegas, right? I'm like, these guys live here. Like the businessmen, these guys, they can't go to Vegas for a month. They're going to be playing in cash games. So I would always use that opportunity to set up shop and play in some really good games in Los Angeles. But the thing is, you get on ESPN, you get in front of an audience of millions. This can also do some very great things to your Twitch stream.
Absolutely. Have a big score in Vegas. People love it. And people ask me, they're like, Matt, you're not going to Vegas? I'm like, hey man, I'm streaming for you right now. You don't like the stream? They're like, why aren't you in the main? It's like, what? Because I'm streaming. You know? So people want, people like when you play live tournaments. They like when you go to these events, but I don't know. I could, in the next few years, I'll definitely mix in. And I want to have community meetups, right? I want to meet people like Lex has a tournament series going on right now. It's called Lex Live. It's going on in London, and it's a big community gathering. He's throwing his own tournament series. Jason Somerville has run it up Reno, which has had like 8 of them or something. So I would like to do something like that potentially in the future.
It's a way to turn casual viewers into diehard fans too. Talking to people, it's all about relationship. That's really what life is about, relationships. And when you can spend time with people, you can talk to them face to face, shake their hand. It goes a long way as far as just creating these diehard fans that you need.
Yeah.
Because 5,000 people, I mean, you think like, okay, Lex has 15,000 people. That's a shitload of people watching a poker stream. But it's actually not that many people if you really think about it, right? How many poker fans exist around the globe? It's a giant percentage of market share on Twitch, obviously. But I think that that could be one of the secret ingredients to his success, like meeting people, talking to people, just creating those fans organically that way.
Yep, for sure.
All right, so I think you've already answered my second to last question about in 15 years. Let's look in 15 years in the future. What are your poker accomplishments going to be?
Oh, man. Well, I will have been playing the highest stakes online. I would hope. I would have, played the biggest tournaments there is to offer in the series. 25Ks, 10Ks, whatever it is. I really try to stay away from setting monetary goals. I don't actually have any. I would just be making something up.
That's good.
There's just too much swings.
Monetary goals are, I'm just going to say monetary goals are kind of stupid in my opinion.
They don't make a lot of sense, no.
Because you need emotional drivers behind your goal, right? Like if you have emotional drivers behind your goals, then the money comes. Like if you're dethroning Lex as number one, the money's going to come, right? Like you're going to make a ton of money in the process. If you're playing the highest stakes games, you're going to make a ton of money. It's a side effect of the more emotional goals.
Yeah, money is the result of almost every other goal you're going to set. So yeah, I hope I'm playing the highest stakes and the best poker I have been. Hopefully I have some live scores as well. Like I said, I would like to branch out and play in these series. So hopefully, a few final tables, a few deep runs in those. And I don't know what my poker life's going to look. I'm hoping I'm still in the industry in 15 years, whether that's, part of a company or doing commentary or all of it at once, or from hosting my own poker something. Hopefully I'm doing something big in the poker world.
How old are you, by the way?
23.
Oh, God. See, I should have asked this. This gives more context to the whole thing, right? You're 23.
It's okay. It's all right.
Your brain's not even fully developed yet, like as a human being. You got a couple more years. So it's such a young age hopping into the poker world.
Yeah.
I would say, in my experience, take some chances, do some things that, instead of streaming WSOP, I think you should give it a shot and just see the experience, right? Maybe you hate it. Maybe it turns out to be awful and you wish you would have streamed. But in a year from taking that chance, you won't even think about it. It won't even matter. It'll be a blip on the radar. But if you love it and it's like grows your stream and you're like, holy shit, why did I wait so long to test that out? Then you'll be upset with yourself for not doing it the last 5 years or however long.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'll definitely be down there. WSP's happening. Live poker's happening at some point.
Well, get it, man.
See you down
there. I'll be walking around. I don't know maybe I'll play some poker tournaments. I'm actually considering going for it.
I gotta be honest, I don't talk to any cash game players. My whole poker world and life has been tournament players the whole time. So
yeah,
it's different for me. It's weird to talk about cash games.
They're that forbidden fruit that you don't want to try.
It's a foreign object, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've played both. I've had success in tournaments in very limited capacity. I don't even know how much I've won, like maybe over 100K. And I don't play. I can tell you I've played 2 live tournaments in the past, I believe, 9 years, if that gives any context. But
have you ever tried streaming tournaments?
I think I did one time, like back on Ignition, but only like when I was going deep in their big event, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But that, again, I can say with much confidence, there is no chance that I will ever play a $50 tournament.
Just no chance.
No chance that I'm going to be grinding those guys. I mean, it'll be some of the shot taking in the bigger online tournaments, like the main events, if I do so. But I do find that, like, I like the atmosphere of playing live, and live tournaments are very, very good. There's a bit of a culture shock, right? When you're used to playing, like 2040 no limit, 20K deep, and then you buy into even, a 2K tournament in live, and you're super deep playing with guys, and you're like, wow, what's going on right now? Like, the competition is so soft compared to these higher stakes crushers that it's like, wow, like I see how guys can make a living playing these tournaments. Like this is wild. So I do think
are good.
Yeah, live tournaments are real good. And so I think there might be some hope in playing some live tournaments, making some deep runs, and, documenting them for Instagram or creating some content based on that. But I would like to get a bracelet. I've been thinking for like the last year or two that it'd be pretty cool to get a bracelet, I guess, just for my resume. Yeah. I've never been
gotta play some tournaments to get a bracelet. You gotta get on the grind for sure.
You do. I've never it's never been about prestige for me. I think that's one big thing about poker. It's never been about prestige. It's just, like I told you before, taking care of the people that I care about. That's been my driving force and being the best that I can be.
You know what the best part about that is? It's almost the complete opposite for me.
It's all about prestige.
Prestige, the hype, the ego, the stream, all of it. That's the beautiful thing about poker for me. So
you're young, like I said. Just let's give it 5 or 10 years. We'll bring you on the show every few years or so and see how that mentality changes.
Sounds good.
But yeah, man, best of luck to you. Where can the Chasing Poker Greatness audience find you on the interwebs?
Matt Staples on Twitch. That's where I'm going to be online 5 days a week. Matthew_Staples on Instagram. Matt Staples Poker on Twitter. And that's it. But Twitch is the best one. I'm online almost full time. So
let's give this man some hype so that he can take down Lex.
Gotta get Lex.
Gotta get
him out of there.
Yeah, in 15 years in the future, Lex is down. You'll be the man in Twitch.
And if you guys hear me on the podcast and you come to my stream, say hello from the podcast so I know. You should.
Yeah, say the Chasing Poker, because this is great publicity for me too. Get in the chat. Talk about the podcast.
Say what's up.
Man, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. And we'll do a round 2 for sure in the future.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Chasing Poker Greatness. If you haven't yet subscribed to the show, please take a moment to do so on Apple Podcasts or wherever your favorite place to listen to podcasts may be. And once again, I wanted to let you know about PKC Poker. If you're on the lookout for a new poker platform where the games are safe and secure and the action's amazing, head to enhanceyouredge.com/PKCpod to get your code and jump into the games. You must have a code to play, as well as be 21 years of age or older. One final time, that's enhanceyouredge.com/PKCpod. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time on Chasing Poker Greatness.